It's like a dream come true. We got a huge $300 million inheritance in our very own company. When the workers saw my sister-in-law, Mary, celebrating our dad's inheritance, they started whispering to each other. They were super happy, and Mary proudly said, "Shay, keep it down. This is the moment when my husband gets to take over the company and get $3 million. After hearing that, one of the workers burst out laughing. My older brother, sitting next to his confused wife, was reading a will from the lawyer. His face went pale as he read it. "Look at this," my brother said, showing her the will. She screamed. "I'm Lucy, 29 years old, and I work for my dad's business. When he was young, my dad had the smart idea to start a business from scratch. Over time, it grew into a decent-sized company with lots of workers. But right after starting the business, he got into debt. Even as a little kid, I could see how tough it was for my dad. Even when the company got bigger, I still wanted to help my mom with her clerical work in the office. My parents told me I could go to college and choose any career I wanted, but I really wanted to work for my dad's company. That's all I could think about when I finished high school. When I joined my dad's company, Bob, who had been working there for a long time, was the first person to teach me about business. He didn't treat me differently just because I was the boss's daughter. Thanks to Bob, I got to learn a lot about how the company works. My brother Tom, who's only 2 years older than me, went to college to learn about management. He was always proud to tell people that our dad ran a business and that he would take over one day. Tom's friends would ask him, "What are your plans after college, Tom? Are you going to find a job?" Tom would say, "I don't need to find a job because I'll be working for my dad's company. I'll become the president eventually, so I'm taking my time to learn about management until then." "Wow, you're going to be the next president. That sounds like a really stable future. I'm kinda jealous," one of Tom's friends said. "Tom, you have a younger sister too, right? Won't there be a competition over who gets to take over the company?" Another friend asked. "Yeah, I have a younger sister, but she's just finished high school and she's pretty down to earth," Tom replied. "You always say that, but I've heard she's actually doing some important work behind the scenes at the company. If I become president, I'll make sure to keep her on board as long as she listens to me," Tom assured. My brother was spending a lot of money and having fun, pretending it was all part of learning to be a business manager. He knew that if he acted well, he'd have lots of friends around him, and being the next president of the company made him popular with women who wanted to date him. He ended up marrying Mary, who was very flashy and attractive. They had a fancy wedding, went on a luxurious honeymoon overseas, built a big mansion, and started their life together. He said he did all this to look good as the future president of the company. Mary seemed happy with Tom. He listened to her and let her enjoy all the fancy things in life. "I doubt she'd want a life like mine, where I work with my mom behind the scenes in my dad's company," I told someone. "Lucy, you don't seem like the CEO's daughter. You don't act like you're the president's daughter," she said. Mary would often laugh at me when we saw each other at family events. "I prefer a simpler life," I said. She looked at me like she felt sorry for me. "I pity you for being the president's daughter but not knowing how to spend money. You still live with your parents and have plenty of money, so you don't need to work hard. And with your title, shouldn't men be drawn to you?" My brother chimed in, "Yeah, she's right. Lucy's always been so humble. People wouldn't even guess her dad's the president. She treats everyone like equals. It's surprising. I still have a lot to learn in my job. Many of my colleagues are better than me, so I can't act like I'm the boss," I argued. But my brother looked shocked. "That's why you're not useful. A boss needs to stand out so they're respected by their team. Let others handle the simple tasks. It seems like only Dad and I are the bosses around here. You shouldn't belittle your team, no matter how powerful you are." Before I could reply, my brother interrupted me, looking annoyed. A woman who's too logical isn't attractive to men. Then Mary joined in. "If you keep talking like that, you'll never find a husband. You should try to be more appealing, don't you think, Tom?" "Yeah, well, when I become president, I might just fire a humble employee like you," Tom said. After that, my brother and Mary said their piece and left quickly. My mom, who had stayed quiet during all of this, comforted me after they left. She said, "You're doing great work for the company, which really helps me and your dad. Don't let what Tom says bother you." My dad nodded, looking serious. They had already told my brother to his face that they didn't like his ideas. But after that, my brother and Mary got upset and didn't come to our house for over a month. I remembered how gloomy it was during that time, so I told my parents, Tom and Mary can say whatever they want. After that, Tom and Mary kept living their lives however they wanted, going to fancy restaurants and luxury resorts. It was all to make it seem like Tom would be the president of my dad's company one day. My dad was working really hard to grow his business, but one night at home, he started complaining of chest pain. "Dad, are you okay? Just try to stay calm." "I'll call for an ambulance," I said. "Lucy, grab this." As we waited for the ambulance, my dad motioned to a drawer and told me he had a letter for me. I hurriedly grabbed the letter from the drawer. "I want you to read this if anything happens to me. Everything else is up to the lawyers," he said breathlessly before losing consciousness before the ambulance arrived. Despite being rushed to the emergency room, he died without regaining consciousness. My brother and Mary were away on a trip when my father passed away, so they couldn't be there for him. They returned from their trip 2 days later. At the end of my father's funeral, Tom said, "We're just glad we arrived on time. I never imagined my father would pass away while we were on vacation." I was shocked. My brother and Mary showed up at the funeral without any worries, not acknowledging that my mother and I had been left to handle everything. I talked to my brother about it in private, so the other employees wouldn't hear. "Couldn't you have come back home sooner?" I asked my brother in private. "What?" "I couldn't. Our return flight was already booked." My brother replied without offering an apology, then turned to address the employees. "Thank you all for your support. From now on, I'll be stepping into my father's shoes with dignity," he said. Mary glanced around at the employees, who had gone silent at my brother's words, and praised him, saying, "That's exactly what Tom would do." "Everyone's impressed, right? It's only natural, considering my husband's dignity." With pride, my brother said to me, "Lucy, isn't the ceremony about to begin? Please lead the way." I was annoyed by my brother's tardiness and his arrogance, but I led him and the employees to the meal ceremony table. My brother continued to act arrogantly as we ate. "Lucy, isn't the quality of this food questionable? It might lower our father's reputation as president," he remarked. "Mom and I already discussed it and agreed on the menu. Plus, I don't need you telling me what to do. This is why people don't understand what it means to be president," I snapped back. He not only bossed me around, but also gave orders to the other employees serving the guests. "You're useless," he declared. I hurried to intervene when I heard my brother ordering Bob, a longtime employee, around. "Tom, that's not right. Don't talk down to Bob or any of our employees. They deserve respect. Why should I act humble in front of someone who's just an employee? They should show me more respect as the president," he argued. Mary joined in, backing him up. "That's correct. Lucy, stop disrespecting Tom, the president of the company. If you keep disobeying him, he can fire you. He's in charge," she warned. Just as my brother and his wife were getting worked up, a man showed up. "Sorry to interrupt. Your father asked me to handle his inheritance," he revealed. He was the lawyer my father had hired while he was still alive. Then it hit me. My father had mentioned before he passed away that he had already hired a lawyer. It seemed he had been preparing for his death and had spoken with a lawyer a few years back. My brother and Mary's faces lit up when the lawyer mentioned inheritance. They eagerly welcomed him into their room. Tom said, "Thank you for coming. Let's get this done as soon as possible." But as he spoke with the lawyer, Tom started to cry. Wasn't my father's inheritance supposed to be $300 million? Mary, upon hearing this, couldn't contain her excitement. $300 million. That much money for our company is like a dream come true. The employees started whispering when they heard this. Mary proudly announced to the grieving employees, "Quiet down. This is the moment when the company and its $300 million inheritance passed to Tom." Upon hearing this, one of the employees burst into uncontrollable laughter. My brother had the will and was reading it next to Mary, who was puzzled by the employee's reaction. My brother's face went pale as he read, Mary, according to the will, the entire company will be inherited by the eldest daughter, Lucy," he stammered. He stared at the will for a moment, then erupted. "This can't be. It's wrong." The lawyer, sounding troubled, confirmed, "This is a legally binding will." My brother's voice grew more strained. "What? I can't believe this. How can Lucy become president instead of me?" "Maybe Dad was just getting old and forgetful," Mary chimed in. "Yeah, your father wasn't thinking straight. A will made by someone losing their mind is worthless." Hearing this, I lost it. I couldn't stand by while they insulted my late father. I couldn't let anyone, even family, disrespect my father, who was a good man till the end. Stop. The idea of my brother Tom becoming president is even more absurd, in my opinion, I asserted. My brother was furious. What are you trying to say? That I'm not fit to be president? He snapped back. Without hesitation, I fired back, you're absolutely right. How can you lead this company if you've never contributed to it? Don't be ridiculous. Mary and I even built a mansion fit for a president, and we made sure to project the image, he defended. Building a mansion unsuited for a leader and dining extravagantly? That's not good for business. And didn't Dad cover most of the costs for that house and extravagance? How would you even know? I countered. Just before he passed, Dad left me a letter. In it, he outlined all the money he had spent on you and said he would give you a gift during his lifetime. So your share of the estate is practically nothing, I disclosed. Mary panicked. Hold on. Is the inheritance really worth $300 million? Have we already spent that much? It's not fair that we're left with so little. The employee who had been laughing earlier quickly approached Mary and explained that $300 million is from the company's assets, not personal wealth. I'm sure all the employees here understand that. Company funds aren't meant for inheritance, I clarified to Mary. Exactly. The company's money isn't meant to be divided among family members, so I doubt my brother's share is significant, I added. That's heartbreaking, Mary sighed. Oh no, Lucy. Mary was shocked. The inheritance? $300 million? My brother suddenly stood up as if he'd had a revelation and shouted at the employees, Do you really want a plain woman like Lucy as your company president? You must see that I'm more qualified. I have the same charm as my father. None of his colleagues sided with him. Bob took the lead and spoke to my brother. Your father, the one you're succeeding, was a charismatic founder of this company. But you and he are different. What you have is arrogance, not charisma. My brother flew into a rage when Bob calmly countered him. Tom, you may hold a position in our company, but us, the employees, hardly ever see you around. I don't have time for actual work in the company. I'm too busy networking with others. There's no time for menial tasks, my brother argued. Networking? Going on trips and partying all night? Is that what you call networking? That's hardly enough. Bob continued, Meanwhile, Lucy's been putting in hard work every day, learning about the company while quietly handling her behind-the-scenes duties. I see the same dedication in her as I did in your father. Lucy is the right person for the job, as far as all of us here at the company are concerned, Bob concluded. The other employees nodded in agreement. I was touched and responded, Thank you all so much. Honestly, I'm taken aback by this news, but having seen my father's passion for the company firsthand, I share the same dedication. I'm grateful for your continued support. The employees warmly applauded as I bowed deeply. Emboldened by their applause, I spoke firmly. Each one of you here is a valuable friend who has contributed to our business. Anyone who overlooks that isn't fit to be part of this company, let alone its president. Even the president can be fired by the employees. My brother grew annoyed upon hearing this. What are you talking about? I'm your brother. What are you even talking about? You were the one who said you'd fire me if you became president, brother. I reminded him. I can't keep paying a salary to an incompetent employee just because he's family. This is ridiculous. Can someone please help me out here? My brother pleaded for support from those around him, but all he got were cold stares from the employees. Seeing that nobody was backing him up, my brother and Mary left in a hurry. After that, Tom lost his job and relied on the small inheritance he received. But it didn't last long. Can you lend me some money, Lucy? He asked, kneeling before me. I was disgusted by my brother's behavior. Even after losing his job, he didn't try to find a new one and was still expecting help from the family. I firmly told my mother not to give him any money. His friends, who had once been supportive, turned their backs on him when they found out he lost his presidency to me, his sister. When Mary married my brother, she had envisioned being the wife of the company president, but none of her friends showed any sympathy for her. As their financial situation became dire, my brother and his wife decided to sell their mansion. The proceeds from the sale could have sustained their lifestyle, but without any income, their savings quickly dwindled. When they had nothing left to sell, they struggled to cover their expenses. Eventually, they realized they needed to find work. However, no one was willing to hire them because they lacked any work experience. Eventually, Tom found a part-time job at a convenience store. Now, he's in an unfamiliar role, facing criticism from younger coworkers. Mary's situation changed too. She's no longer a full-time housewife, but now works as a cashier at a supermarket, alongside the very part-time housewives she once looked down upon. Her salary is low. Meanwhile, I'm using my experience from behind-the-scenes work to help the company grow. With support from Bob and other employees, the company is thriving. Ironically, my brother's situation has strengthened employee unity. I've pledged to keep working with my mother to expand the business, aiming to bring pride to my Father in heaven.